Okay, I'd like to call the May 15th, 2024 Plan Commission meeting to order at 7 o'clock. If you're able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Samantha, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Ken Carroll. Ken Carroll.
Here.
Angelo DeSerio.
Here.
Jan Platau.
Here.
John Stanton.
Here.
Cheryl Slabazeski. Jeff Peterson.
Here.
And Bill Thomas.
Here. Okay, the first thing is I need to have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting held on April 11th, but before I do, we did discover an error on the first page when we were approving the March minutes. At the last meeting, both John Stanton and Angelo DeSerio were absent, and their names got on the abstain line instead of the absent line. So that will be corrected. So I need a motion to approve the amended minutes from the meeting held April 11th.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner DeSerio, second by Commissioner Peterson. Roll call, please.
Angelo DeSerio.
Yes.
Jeff Peterson.
Yes.
John Stanton.
Abstain.
Ken Carroll.
Yes.
Jan Platau.
Yes.
And Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Was that 5-0 with one abstaining?
One,
Okay,
two.
sorry. And just for the commissioners' information, the project that we talked about at that meeting was the DBATS project, and this past Monday, the city council approved our recommendations. So we welcome DBATS to the city of Crest Hill. Okay, we have one item of new business for tonight, and that is case PUD-24-1-5-1, a request from Gas and Wash, R.R. Crest Hill LLC, seeking approval of a B3 special use for a planned unit development and a major planned unit development change. And this request is to expand the existing commercial planned unit development currently in place at the northwest corner of Weber Road and Division, Crest Hill, Illinois, to include the 0.84 acres immediately adjacent to the west to allow the additional property to be utilized for permanent driveway improvements for the existing gas and wash project. The address is in the vicinity of 16664 Weber Road. Whew, that was a mouthful. Samantha, is all the paperwork in order?
It is.
Okay, so at this time then, I would like to have a motion to open the public hearing for case PUD-24-1-5-1.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Plateau, second by Commissioner Carroll. Roll call, please.
Jan Platau.
Yes.
Ken Carroll.
Yes.
Jeff Peterson.
Yes.
John Stanton.
Yes.
Angelo DeSerio.
Yes.
And Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
6-0. Public hearing is opened at 7:04. Again, the subject of this hearing is to discuss case PUD-24-1-5-1, and I would like to ask our interim city planner, Maura Ragoni, to present the specifics of this case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you this evening is a special use request for a planned unit development expansion as well as then the major PUD change for the property located at the northwest corner of Division and Weber, particularly relating to the construction of the gas and wash that is currently open. And a little bit of background history on the property. In November of 2022, the city approved a special use for planned unit development and special uses for 3 drive-through facilities on the northwest corner of Weber Road and Division Street. With the approval, that came with the gas and wash, as well as then proposal for additional commercial developments up further north on Weber Road. Currently, right now, the gas and wash is the only one that is currently constructed and open for operation. The original plan that was included in your packet, I believe I labeled it as Exhibit B, is the original site plan for gas and wash. As you note in the original approval, that there were 2 access points on Division Street. One was a right-in, right-out, and one was kind of this unique access point which would allow in and then east-westbound traffic on Division. In this vicinity, there is a pipeline that runs along Division Street. As they began with construction and final design, they had indicated that there was some difficulty in terms of crossing that pipeline, which then kind of resulted in this delay of construction, trying to determine the best way with coordination with the pipeline. They determined that it would not be resolved in the immediate future, and there was a concern with gas and wash not having an access on a division just for circulation as well as then just pure operations. So in the interim, in December of 2023, the city worked with gas and wash as well as on Heidner Properties to provide this temporary access right now that is currently out there, in hopes that we would get somewhere with the gas pipeline at that point. However, there hasn't been any movement, and with coming into now the spring and summer, wanting to make this something other than a gravel drive, that they came back and is now requested something in the exact location, but making it, and we're going to call it an interesting, like an interim permanent situation at this time, to have a full access drive as presented in your plans that would be curbed and paved and finish off the development. We use the term interim because we're not quite sure what the balance of the property is going to happen, because remember, this is one of about 64 balanced acres. Unsure where that final design may land. So as we go through the conditions, I'll explain that a little bit more, so all parties understood, both the city and the property owners, that that may need to change some way down the road, maybe shift or so forth, for any future development. That's why we're calling it in this fashion. You have the major PUD change because the proposal is to not construct the 2 access drives that were currently approved with the original PUD. Some of the specifics that we'll go through, that the proposal is a 36-foot drive, which extends from off of Division Street, connects on through and connects into that north-south road, access road that connects into Randitch. They're proposing this new access was further west, so it limits the interference with the turn lanes on Division. It is designed with asphalt, curb, and gutter. There will be lighting along there, as well as then landscape and seating. There is, as noted, there isn't a formal application for it. That's why we're calling it, for the balance of the property, that's why we're calling it interim. There currently is a temporary access easement because this property is not owned, that we're speaking of, the 0.84 acres is not currently owned by Gas and Wash, but rather Heidner, which is that of the owner of the balance of the acreage. So they have to grant them an easement. Right now it's considered temporary, but that temporary will turn into a permanent easement as we begin with the permanent construction. There is a green space that will be left there, and that we wanted to identify that it's not a buildable lot because it's not large enough. So we've also included that as a condition for everyone to recognize that that cannot be constructed on for a building in itself. The engineers, city engineers have reviewed the plans. They are going through some additional reviews in terms of the traffic flow, the construction, as well as the materials to make sure that they meet all city standards. It is recommended that we do condition this on final engineering. They are looking at additional control measures at points of intersections, as well as then they allowed for some temporary signage. So as they begin to make this more permanent, to remove that temporary signage. Also, covenants restrictions are on the current property. We would look to have some type of an expansion of the covenants restrictions or maintenance outlined either in the easement for this portion to ensure that it is plowed, it is maintained by all parties so it does not become a nuisance. And then with the PUD, there's consideration of the final PUD in the final easement, which will ensure that there's all cross-access easements and maintenance. In the report, there is a number of conditions that are outlined. I can go ahead and read these verbatim and then kind of explain. The first one is that the PUD approval for the proposed access drive would not be in the indefinite interim basis and in no way should be considered final with respect to its location, design, and configuration. The permanent final location, design, and configuration for the driveway street improvements at this location, known as the permanent drive street improvements, shall be reviewed and approved as part of the PUD approval process for the development of the property located immediately adjacent to the north and west of the interim driveway improvements, known as the subject adjacent development site. It shall be the sole responsibility of the property owner and/or developer of the adjacent development site to reconfigure the interim drive improvements if necessary to implement a PUD plans approval in the future of the adjacent development site. What that means is that at such time, it's a little wordy, just to summarize, what that means is that right now, if the development should come back for the rest of the balance of the property and that has to be modified, all parties are in agreement and understand that can and would occur to ensure we have proper development. The next condition for consideration is that no private contracts, agreements, or covenants shall be entered into, executed, or recorded against the property on which the interim drive improvements is located, current or by future owner of the land, that would prohibit or make it unreasonably difficult to remove or configure the interim drive and construction of the permanent driveway. The next is the green space between the interim drive and Division Street is not considered buildable and no building development permit will be issued for that land area in its current configuration. That's that portion of that land that I was referencing along Division Street. Approval of final engineering, landscape, and photometric. The Plan Commission consider any approval of finalization of the maintenance responsibility of the new drive and recordation of a plat of easement and final plat of PUD. Those are the conditions that we've would ask the commission to consider should they consider an affirmative vote on this item. And I'm here if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Maura. So is there a representative from Gas and Wash in the audience? If you wouldn't mind, come to the podium and state your name, and then I will swear you in.
My name's Troy Pionk. I'm actually with Heidner Properties. We're the owner of the adjacent.
Okay, Troy, if you would raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I
help
do.
you God? All right.
Yes, sir.
So would you please repeat all those conditions?
I would just say that Maura did a great job. I don't have anything else really to offer new, so I can answer any questions that you
So
may have.
is it safe to say, I think she's already informed you and Gas and Wash about these conditions, and you understand what they are and agree to them?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Jan, you have some questions at all?
Not at all.
Jeff?
You're good.
John, questions?
None here.
Angelo?
Nothing
All right, so I have some questions, not getting off that.
All right.
First of all, I made the mistake of going in the drive from Division into there today in the rain.
As did I.
And I got halfway in there and I stopped since I was driving my brand new car and I thought, oh my gosh, even if I back up, I'm stuck. So I can't wait till you have that paved. With all those potholes now, it almost should be closed down. There's so many potholes in there. What's going on at the corner of Weber and Division? What are all those red flags, all the orange barrels? Is that us or is that something the city's doing for you?
If I remember correctly, that's still part of the southbound right turn lane from Weber on to Division. But in dealing with Will County DOT, there's some signalization work and changes to the existing signals that needs to take place.
Okay,
So that is still an ongoing item with the Will County DOT
okay,
and Gas and Wash, yes.
yeah. I mean, I look back into July of 2021, when this first came before us. Personally, I was really excited because I've been to the Gas and Wash in Plainfield quite a few times off of 126 in Droughton, and that was the first time I ever encountered Gas and Wash, and my first opinion or feeling was that this is the most beautiful gas station I've ever pulled into. And so when it came before us almost 3 years ago. I thought, this is something we want on that Weber Road corridor, to have a gas station of that type, and yet, you know, here we sit, I don't mean to sound harsh, but it's almost an eyesore when you go by there and see all the flags, all the barrels. Fortunately now, it looks like they've started working on the drainage
Yes.
situation.
Yes, that is
Yeah,
being
so-
resolved as we
Yeah,
speak, yes.
boy, that had to be the first thing. I was so glad to see that today, because with this rain, I don't know if we're ever gonna stop raining here, so, yeah, so I can't wait until we can get that thing finished and looking like a gas and wash that you can be proud of.
I
But,
think we all agree with that,
Yeah,
yes.
and I'm sure I'm not alone on that, so, is there anyone else have any questions? Were you gonna say something, Maura?
No, the only one other item, I noticed in your packet that there was a signage plan. That is not part of the request at this time, so any vote or any consideration is not including any signage.
Okay.
Okay, just
All
want
right,
to make
thank
sure.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Is there anyone else in the audience that has come to comment on the gas and wash changes? All right, please come to the podium, state your name.
My name's Arthur Glogowski. I live on McGillivray Drive, 20845.
Would you raise your right
Oh,
hand,
sure.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you
do.
God?
I do.
Okay, Mike.
So I guess I had a couple little concerns about this property in general. Ever since construction has started, the flooding on McGillivray keeps getting worse and worse, because the runoff is actually coming into, like, my neighbor to the west property, and now it's coming onto my property and heading towards Weber. So my question is there any type of thought process to get any of this fixed, because the property is obviously starting to get developed? Second issue was with the gas and wash, are we gonna build some kind of, I don't know, fence, anything along those lines to keep the lights down at night? Because now I see them from my backyard, which I never had any of that before. So I know at the original meetings, there was talks about putting trees in, some kind of berm, something along those lines, and there has been no movement whatsoever on that. So those are my two biggest concerns about any of this, and what this new drive is actually gonna do for the water drainage going that direction, because obviously that's gonna affect it, it's one way or another. So I know originally there were supposed to be ponds put in along the McGillivray Drive properties. Is there any plans to get any of that done before we do any of these modifications, to try to get some of this water from going onto the properties on McGillivray Drive?
Okay. Do
I
we
can,
have,
I can go ahead and, I can't speak to it directly, as I have not had the opportunity to review the engineering plans, but I can go ahead and talk to the city attorney as it relates to McGillivray Drive. I know that this development, in terms of the ponds, that was probably a larger scheme development that has not been developed and it's not been approved, but there is the balance of the property of all the way up to Randitch, to see what the improvements are. I know that it's a little bit interesting because the whole development technically hasn't been finalized in terms of the construction and so forth, so we're kind of in this interim stage where we have the gas and washes open with a conditional occupancy, and there's probably some other items. But I can certainly, before we leave, give you my card, and we can make sure that I do get in touch with you, and we can connect the dots with the engineers, because if we are flooding or there's issues, then we have to make sure that we address those, particularly if it's on Weber Road, because that is a county road as well.
Okay.
So I apologize, I don't have the exact, but in terms of the berm, some of that may have been part of the future development of the balance of the 65 property, 65 acres. But I can tell you that, if there's anything that we have to, or with the development relating to the flooding on McGillivray, then that's something we'll have to address, so.
Okay.
Before you
That's
leave, I'll make sure I give you my
Yeah, it
card.
was primarily the lighting and the flooding, because like I said, now you got the light pollution kind of deal coming from there, which I know we were getting it from Amazon, from Dane Freight and everything like that, but this is just obviously adding to this, thing. And I get it, we're not gonna stop building, I understand that. It's just that something that we could do to mediate some of that, especially for us that moved into those larger properties, to be secluded a little bit,
yeah,
so.
no, exactly. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
No, appreciate it, thank you guys.
Excuse me, if you could fill out your name on that form. You have to put your address, but if you just can put your name and the spelling, please. Thank you.
Just address, right?
You don't have to
Oh,
put your address.
okay.
Thank you, though.
All right, anyone else? So as I see no one else in the audience to do that, I think we can bring the public hearing to a close. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Peterson makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeSirio. Roll call, please.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Angelo DeSirio,
Yes.
Jan Platau,
Yes.
John Stanton,
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
and Bill Thomas.
Yes,
Motion carried.
public hearing closed at 7:20. With everything that's been discussed, is there anything else that Maura or our attorney want to bring up?
Maura and I did discuss, rather than, since the conditions are a mouthful, if one of you gentlemen are going to make a motion to approve,
As read.
you can just say either as written or as stated by Maura, so you don't have to reread all of those conditions.
Absolutely. I already have that in my minutes after I read them. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I mean, we're very delighted that Gas and Wash has decided to build a unit here. I realize there have been some issues, and we want to help any way we can to resolve those issues. So, then I would like to have a motion to approve the request from Gas and Wash for approval of the B3 special use for a planned unit development and a major planned unit development change at the property located at 16664 Weber Road, Crest Hill, contingent on the 6 conditions that we were previously read by Maura. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Plateau, second by Commissioner Stanton, and can I have roll call, please?
Jan Platau,
Yes.
John Stanton, Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Angelo DeSirio,
Yes.
and Bill Thomas.
Yes,
Motion
motion has
carried.
passed 6-0. So, the Plan Commission has approved the request from Gas and Wash for approval of the special use unit development and the major change at the property. Our request, a recommendation, will be forwarded to City Council. We are only a recommending body, not a decision-making body. And because all parties are very anxious to get this going, it has been decided that the City Council will hear your case on Monday, May 20th. That's a week from this Monday. So I'm sure you will be in attendance there also, and we thank you for that. So with that, thank you for coming, and you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
All right, I want to switch the agenda around just a little by bringing the public comments up now. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public comment about anything relating to the Plan Commission? Seeing none, I will take that as a no. So, other business, I have one item of business to discuss, but before I do, is there anyone else that needs to bring up an item of business?
I don't know whether I'm a member of the public or a member of the staff, but I do have a public comment. Since this is Jan's last meeting, I just wanted to thank him for the years of his service and making my life a little bit easier by being very easy to work with, so.
All right, well, I
And I wish
appreciate
you
that.
the best in
and,
retirement.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I'm going to piggyback on that by acknowledging his 9 years of service. As he announced his retirement at our last meeting, and just for you that don't know all the specifics, but Jan was appointed in 2015 to the Plan Commission, and during his tenure, he was the chairman for 2 years. And it was his professionalism and attention to detail that meant a great deal to me when I first joined the Plan Commission. And I hope I've learned enough and am behaving as the way he would want us to behave. Is there anybody else that wants to make a comment?
I didn't think anybody noticed, Bill.
Yeah,
Jan, it's been a pleasure working with you for these last 9 years.
Thank you, Ken.
Yep, thanks for letting me in. You brought me in, you took me under your wing, and here I am, you're leaving, dude. Good luck.
Thank you.
thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Good luck in Indiana.
Yes, thank you.
Go Notre Dame.
Yes, yeah. Well, thanks to everyone, really. I really enjoyed this. It's kind of bittersweet that I'm leaving, but yeah, we're moving on. So, new chapter in life. So, can hardly wait to start. So, but thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, well, thank you for your faithful service. So we have a card from all of us that we are going to give you, but we want to do that after we adjourn.
Okay.
So if you would so kindly give us your last motion of adjournment,
Sure.
and I need a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Carroll, and a roll call, please.
Jan Platau,
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
John Stanton, Angelo DeSerio,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Meeting adjourned at 7:26, and we kind of all got together, and we didn't know if your wife was going to be here or not.
No, she's watching Grey's Anatomy. So.
So you open.